the area, which might have been used for an engine, and no sign of any propellers of any kind, although at least one paper fin had been glued onto some tinfoil. There were no words to be found anywhere on the instrument, although there were letters on some of the parts, considerable Scotch tape, and some tape with flowers, and that were printed upon it, had been used in the construction. No strings or wires were to be found, but there were some eyelets in the paper to indicate some sort of attachment might have been used.
Did you say that there was flower Scotch tape?
Yeah. You don't have that?
On the spaceship?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're hippie aliens.
I mean, maybe they are. Maybe it was that time, right? No. Maybe.
It was before that time.
It was before.
Maybe it's like a Back to the Future thing where like they came like Marty McFly and then they brought hippiness to the U.S. 13 years before it started.
Fantastic theory.
Yeah. I'm bringing you the cutting edge reporting here. This is quality journalism. Why are you laughing?
It's funny.
Let's fight.
Fight me.
Okay. So yeah, paper, flour, Scotch tape, and paper.
Paper flour?
Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
No.
What do you mean no?
That does not sound like, that sounds like a second grade crafts project.
Or do you think it's possible that that's what the military wanted us to think they found?
Okay.
Because I just find it strange that they did release a statement calling it a flying disc, but then the next day it's completely different. Like, how does that happen?
You're like, whoa, wait, my bad. I didn't mean disc. I didn't mean like a flying disc.
Yeah.
I meant a weather balloon with Scotch tape.
Sensors.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know.
It makes sense.
It's so weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. All right.
Well, this is basically when they were just like, yeah, that it's a weather balloon. And in this Michael Ryan book, A Third Kind, he says a telex sent a Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI office from Fort Worth, Texas, office quoted a major from the 8th Air Force, also based in Fort Worth at Carswell Air Force Base, on July 8th, 1947, as saying that the disc is hexagonal in shape and was suspended from a balloon by cable, which balloon was approximately 20 feet in diameter. And Major Curtin further advised that the object found resembles a high-altitude weather balloon with a radar reflector, but that the telephonic conversation between their office and Wright Field had not, and this part was not understood, born out of belief. And in his book, The Secret Genesis of Area 51, T.D. Barnes is quoted as saying, the many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday when the intelligence office of the 509th Bomb Group of the 8th Air Force, Roswell Army Airfield, was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc through the cooperation of one of the local ranchers and the sheriff's office of Chavez County. The flying object landed on a ranch near Roswell sometime last week. And not having phone facilities, the rancher stored the disc until such time as he was able to contact the sheriff's office, who in turn notified the Major Jesse A. Marcel of the 509th Bomb Group Intelligence Office. Action was immediately taken, and the disc was picked up at the rancher's home. It was inspected at the Roswell Army Airfield and subsequently loaned by Major Marcel to higher headquarters.
Okay, so is it a fucking disc or not?
It's so kind of confusing, right?
Yeah, like I'm hearing
conflicting reports,
bits of debris, and now I'm hearing disc again.
Doesn't make much sense.
I'm stressed out.
Take a deep breath. We'll get through this together. So you might remember that in the 40s, the U.S. was kind of working furiously to develop an atomic weapon.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it happened. New Mexico was center stage for the development of the atomic bomb.
And if you don't believe me, you can listen to the Spies episode of True Consequences.
Oh, plug. Shameless.
Sorry.
Shameless. Many believe that the military decided to conceal the true purpose of the crash device, which was nuclear test monitoring, and instead informed the public that it was all just a crash from a weather balloon. Okay, so but later on, the press reported that General Ramey had said that a weather balloon was recovered by the Roswell Army Airfield, which would later be known as the Air Force.
Yeah, did you know that the Army, it was called the Army Air Force before it became the Air Force?
I did not, actually. And I feel kind of like I did, but that's like lost knowledge.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Anyway.
Later, a press conference was held, and the debris was shown to everyone. Foil, rubber bands, rubber, and wood, which was said to be from the crashed object, which matched the weather balloon theory. Okay, so historian Robert Goldberg wrote that the intended effect was achieved, and the story died the next day.
Dun, dun, dun.
Or did it? It did fizzle, though. It fizzled from the news and was far from the people's minds for the next, 30 plus years.
And then, between 1978 and the early 1990s, UFO researchers interviewed several hundred people who claimed to have had a connection with the events at Roswell in 1947. Hundreds of documents were obtained by a Freedom of Information Act request, and rumors began to swell and spread throughout the U.S. and the world. Investigators concluded that at least one alien spacecraft crashed at Roswell. Alien bodies had been recovered, and that the man, or the government, covered up the incident and blamed a weather balloon. Today's sponsor is Hero Cosmetics. They sent me over the Mighty Patch, which is a hydrocolloid acne patch. And if you're like me and struggle with adult acne, this thing is a lifesaver. I've had several pimples over the last few weeks, and every time they pop up, I slap a patch on, and the next day, it's totally flat. It's so cool. If you want to try the Mighty Patch for yourself, use code TRUE15 for 15% off on HeroCosmetics.com. So I watched this interview with a man named W. Glenn Davis. He was working as an undertaker in Roswell at the time.
Like a mortician?
More like an undertaker at a funeral home.
Oh, well, isn't that...
Is it a mortician?
I think so, man.
I don't know.
Anyway.
He was an undertaker. And he also had a contract with the Roswell Army Airfield. So he was like the mortician undertaker guy for the base. Okay. And he claims that he received a phone call on that night asking what size were the smallest caskets that he had. And they wanted to know how many he had in stock.
Okay.
So he also claimed that they asked him how to preserve bodies that had been exposed to the elements, and that he also had to transport an injured airman to the base hospital, and states that he was threatened by another airman for asking about a wrecked aircraft he heard about.
So is he talking about like a very short individual?
No, this was actually like a person that he was driving to the ER that had gotten into a car wreck.
Why did he need really short caskets?
Oh, that's what the Air Force Base was asking him for.
Okay. They were asking.
Yeah, they called him and asked him for them.
For short caskets.
Yeah, caskets. Yeah. Yeah. And they asked not only what were the smallest ones he had, but how many he had.
Okay, so they're talking multiple.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he talks about like spending a lot of time on the phone with them, answering all their questions. But anyway, he gets to the hospital. This other airman, he's like, "Hey, I heard there was a crash aircraft somewhere outside of Roswell." And he's like, "You didn't hear anything. There's no crash."
Ooh, shut him down. And
he's like, "You need to get out of here. You're going to get in trouble if you stay here any longer." And so as he was getting ready to leave, he started walking. He got a little bit lost. He says that he ran into a nurse.
Okay.
And she was working in the hospital, and she described these strange creatures that she was working on. And allegedly she even drew pictures for Davis. She said they were no more than 4 foot tall with bluish colored skin. They had long skinny arms and fingers that had tiny suction cups on them. And she was very shocked, like freaked out, and claimed that these creatures looked like nothing she had ever seen and smelled so horrible that it made her physically ill.
This was at the base hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He also states that she told him she never smelled anything like it. Davis claimed that the nurse was transferred to England like a couple days later, and that he was told she was later killed in a military training accident, according to the Air Force. According to his interview, he believes she's still alive, and there's a lot of controversy about his account. One of the problems...
Wait, the nurse died?
Allegedly. But the nurse is also allegedly.
So okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of
convenient.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with his account of these incidents. And one of the biggest problems, the name he gave for the nurse. whenever he was confronted by people that were investigating this and said, this person never worked for the Army Airfield Base in Roswell, he gave a new name after that.
Oh. So he had to do a quick search.
So he was like,
oh, let me find someone that used to work
hold
there.
on. Her name was Sue Jennifer.
Sue Jennifer. That's a good name.
Yeah.
I can tell you're good on the spot.
I'm really good. So this inconsistency, as well as other inconsistencies in his story, led people to start really doubting the credibility of his account. But I did watch the interview, Alex, and like, I wanted to believe him. He seemed pretty credible. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It might just because he reminded me of my grandpa, because he's just like this good old boy who, like, you can tell.
It's kind of hard to believe that like an 80-year-old man would sit there and just lie straight to your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
exactly.
You know.
and he just sounded so convincing. But then, you know, you hear that he gave a name of somebody that doesn't exist, and that starts to make you doubt.
Maybe he just couldn't remember.
Or maybe she gave him a false name.
Ooh.
Because she thought he was hitting on her.
My name is, what was it?
Just
Jennifer Sue.
Jennifer. So the other thing he said is that he did see these beings and that they were like burnt. And so I don't know. And then there's other people that say that these bodies were moved to a base in like Michigan or something like that. And that people there saw alien bodies.
Because Michigan.
Yeah. Well, it was an Air Force base.
Oh, okay.
So the Air Force later claimed that the charred bodies that were being spoken about, not just from Davis, but also all these other witnesses, were in fact crash test dummies. So apparently it was common practice for the Air Force to tether several crash test dummies to the balloons that the Air Force sent up and let them fall to the earth to test the impact that type of fall would have on a body. So this is how the military explained away the bodies that multiple witnesses claim to have seen. It doesn't explain why the Air Force called this guy, if they actually did, to ask what the smallest casket they had was.
They got an answer for everything.
Yeah.
Did anyone ever ask them about the tiny caskets they were trying to get?
I mean,
what would they even say? Yeah, we were trying to get small caskets. So what?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it, guy.
Yeah. So that's one of many problems that we start to see with some of these eyewitness accounts.
Scientific skeptic author Brian Dunning believes that Davis is not a reliable or credible, as it took him nearly 40 years to tell his story.
I mean, that is also suspicious.
Well, think about it, man. I have a very hard time remembering what things I did 2 days ago. Yesterday, I'm pretty good with.
100%.
2 days, I'm like, I start sliding down that forgetting scale.
Yeah.
But beyond that, Brian believes that Davis is telling a poorly crafted story that will fit his narrative of an alien craft crashing near Roswell. And it's hard to know even, really who to believe.
Yeah.
Jesse Marcel, another eyewitness, was interviewed by nuclear physicist and author Stanton Friedman, and Marcel was alleged to be the only person known to have accompanied the Roswell debris from where it was recovered to Fort Worth. And this interview, along with the interview of Davis and other witnesses, led to the resurgence of speculation and hype around the Roswell incident, which all started in the 1980s.
I remember that kind of crazy stuff.
Oh, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Roswell got a huge boom in visitors too.
Yeah.
In Roswell Incident, Marcel stated that actually this material may have looked like tinfoil and balsa wood, but the resemblance ended there. And they took one picture of me on the floor holding up some less interesting metallic debris.
Oh, so he's the dude holding up the foil
in the picture.
Yeah. Okay.
And the stuff in that one photo was pieces of actual stuff we found. And it was not a staged photo. So
likely story.
Yeah. And there he goes again. The material Marcel positively identified as being part of what he recovered had been confirmed to be the debris from the balloon device. It was confirmed by scientists and others. And once he was aware of this, Marcel changed his story to say the backtracked and saying that it wasn't the material that he even saw.
Okay, wait. So he's like,
no, it totally was the material. No, it's not.
Wait, no, it was.
It was though, but it wasn't
wasn't
that. I mean,